Close your eyes for a moment and listen. The gentle hum of a vintage refrigerator, the rhythmic clinking of glass bottles on the front porch, the sweet, rich aroma of percolated coffee drifting through a sunlit hallway. If you grew up in the 1960s, these sounds and smells weren't just a morning routine. They were the heartbeat of your childhood. Today, our kitchens are filled with smart appliances, high-speed blenders, and ingredients from all over the world. But back then, dinner didn't come from a delivery app. It came from a handwritten recipe card, a tin lunchbox, and a mother's tireless hands. Let's step back in time and relive exactly one full day in a typical 1960s kitchen. You might just recognize your own family table. The weekly pilgrimage. To truly understand the 1960s kitchen, we first have to understand where the food came from. This was the era of the great American and Canadian supermarket boom. Once a week, Mother would grab her vinyl purse, hop into the family station wagon, and drive down to the brightly lit aisles of A&P or Safeway. It was a magical time of transition. For the first time, grocery stores were overflowing with frozen innovations and convenient processed foods that promised to liberate women from hours of kitchen labor. Towering displays of colorful Pyrex bowls, shiny aluminum foil, and rows of neatly stacked Campbell's soup cans lined the shelves. Buying groceries wasn't just a chore. It was an exciting glimpse into a bright, modern future. Armed with brown paper bags packed to the brim, Mother returned home, ready to transform these new-age ingredients into the daily rhythm of family life. The sunrise ritual. The day begins at 7 o'clock. Long before the children stir, the kitchen belongs to Mother. The first task is the coffee. No pods, no espresso machines, just a classic stovetop percolator or a freshly stirred cup of instant Folgers. But while the coffee brews, Mother is already preparing a morning surprise that most children of the 60s will never forget. A colorful box that changed American and Canadian breakfasts forever. The 1960s was the absolute golden age of sugar cereals. For the first time, the grocery shelves were packed with bright, animated boxes like Fruit Loops, Cap'n Crunch, and Lucky Charms, which debuted in 1964. Children ran to the kitchen, not just for the sweet taste, but to dig their hands to the bottom of the box to find the plastic toy hidden inside. On colder mornings, especially in the northern states and across Canada, the sweet cereal was replaced by a steaming bowl of cream of wheat or Quaker Oats porridge, served with a thick pat of butter and a heavy splash of whole milk. And speaking of milk, it was delivered fresh. The milkman still arrived in his white truck, leaving heavy glass bottles with silver caps right on the doorstep. It was a simpler time when the neighborhood felt like an extension of the home. The metal lunchbox. By noon, the kitchen is quiet, but miles away in a bustling school cafeteria, the results of Mother's morning labor are unwrapped. Every child's social status in the cafeteria was determined by two things: the cartoon character on their metal lunchbox and a very specific, soft sandwich that everyone loved, but nobody eats today. In the 1960s, lunchboxes were made of sturdy stamped metal, featuring icons like Johnny Quest, the Jetsons, or the Beatles. Inside, neatly wrapped in crinkly wax paper, because aluminum foil was still an expensive luxury, was the ultimate childhood staple, a bologna sandwich on soft white Wonder Bread. Sometimes it had a swipe of yellow mustard, sometimes Miracle Whip. It was soft, processed, and perfect. Alongside it, Mother would pack a crisp red apple, a small bag of Hostess potato chips, and the ultimate lunchtime trophy, a Vachon Jos Louis cake or a Twinkie. To wash it down, a tiny thermos built into the lunchbox lid held cold whole milk, or a nickel was handed to the teacher for a small carton of chocolate milk. It wasn't organic, and it wasn't fancy, but it was made with love, and it kept a generation running until the streetlights came on. the after-school sanctuary. The school bell rings, and by 3:30, the front door slams open. The house fills with the sound of laughter and running feet. Children are starving, and the kitchen transforms into a sanctuary of after-school comfort. Before the children could head back outside to play, there was a strict, unwritten rule in every 1960s home, and it involved a sweet, square treat that baked in a Pyrex dish all afternoon. The afternoon snack was a sacred ritual. The air in the house was thick with the scent of brown sugar, oats, and dates. Across Canada and the northern borders, mothers regularly baked date squares, sweet, crumbly oat bars with a thick, rich date filling. In other homes, a fresh batch of classic chocolate chip cookies rested on a wire rack. Children sat at the Formica kitchen counter, kicking their legs, pouring a tall, cold glass of milk from the refrigerator. There were no smartphones, no tablets. Instead, the small black and white television in the corner played a fuzzy episode of Leave It to Beaver or Lassie. It was a moment of pure peace before the rush of the evening began. The gathering of the heart. At exactly 6 o'clock, the entire family gathers. The father is home from work, the children have washed their hands, and the television is turned off. The dining table is set with patterned Corelle plates, and a large, colorful Pyrex dish sits in the center. Tonight, Mother is serving a dish that defined the decade, a clever culinary trick born out of necessity that became the ultimate symbol of family comfort. It is the classic meatloaf. In the 1960s, meatloaf wasn't just a meal. It was an art form. Mothers mastered the skill of stretching expensive ground beef by mixing it with crushed saltine crackers, rolled oats, and a thick, sweet glaze of Heinz ketchup on top. It was served alongside a mountain of mashed potatoes with a deep well of rich gravy in the center and a side of Del Monte canned peas or corn. But on special Friday nights, Mother got a well-deserved break. The kitchen stayed clean, and the family gathered around the television for a true 1960s phenomenon, the Swanson TV dinner. Introduced a decade earlier but perfected in the 60s, these compartmentalized aluminum trays held Salisbury steak, turkey with dressing, or fried chicken, complete with a tiny square of hot apple cobbler in the center. It felt futuristic. It felt modern. The sweet finale, but no 1960s dinner was truly complete without the decade's most defining culinary obsession, the gelatin mold. Dessert back then was an architectural marvel. Mothers took immense pride in shimmering, colorful Jell-O crowns, carefully layered with canned fruit cocktail, mini marshmallows, or even shredded carrots, chilled to perfection in a decorative copper ring. On warmer nights, it might be a simple scoop of Neapolitan ice cream, sliced straight from a cardboard brick, so everyone got an equal share of chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. As the clock ticked toward 8, the children would finish their homework at the kitchen table, washing down their sweet treat with a glass of Tang, the space-age orange drink the astronauts drank on television. It was a sweet, colorful end to a bustling day, a final moment of indulgence before the bedtime routine began. But whether it was a home-cooked meatloaf or a foil tray on a folding metal table, the true ingredient of a 1960s dinner wasn't the food itself. It was the undivided attention. It was the shared stories, the shared space, and the simple security of knowing that everyone you loved was sitting right there together. The dishes are dried, the kitchen light clicks off, and another simple, beautiful day comes to a close.